Louisville Live this morning. Right now, we want you to give us a call because we are opening up the Louisville Live legal line. Karl Truman is here to take your questions. 502-267-2422. And I would suspect somewhere out there this morning someone had an accident because it has just been raining and raining and raining. How was your trip into the station? We've asked everybody. I mean, standing water on some of the places out there tall.
And good morning, Craig. Glad to be back. It is horrible conditions out there, so drive safely this morning. I mean that's so important because there's so much standing water out there, and you don't know it until you're right on it and can hydroplane. And so just slow down and be safe. Try to take extra time out there this morning.
Well, I know you do want to take extra time because it can happen to you, an accident of any kind. And we talked to Karl. He does disability, Social Security. He does accidents, 1-800-ACCIDENT. It's Karl Truman Law offices. Ruth is on the phone with a quick call to Karl Truman. Good morning, Ruth.
Good morning.
What is your question?
My question is, I was terminated from employment, and I had my evaluation in November. January 14th, I fell, broke my shoulder. I was out for 3.5 months. Did not hear any complaints from November to January. When I returned to work, the day I returned, they told me that I was going to be put on probation because some wording in an evaluation, needs to be more careful with mistakes made, this type thing. Put me on probation for 3 months. If I made one more mistake, I'd be fired. Well, I made the one mistake. Mm-hmm. My question is, do I have a suit against them considering, I feel like I had a target on my back. They didn't have a problem from November to January, but then when I was out for 3 months, possible looking at more surgery, being the oldest employee with the most seniority, the 6 weeks paid vacation, the looking towards retirement, I felt like I had a target on my back.
Ruth, thank you very much for your call this morning. That is a good question because employees can be put in that challenging situation.
Yeah, and Ruth, that's a tough spot to be in, and I'm really sorry to hear what you're going through. But both, and you didn't specify if you are in Indiana or Kentucky, but still both states, as most states, are what's called employment at will states, meaning that an employer can fire you for any reason or no reason at all unless you have some sort of employment contract, and get into all types of employment law issues and following procedures in your handbook. Now, if someone's hurt on the job, an employer cannot retaliate against you, fire you in retaliation for filing a workers' comp claim or being hurt on the job. But unfortunately, as we see, they can basically set people up for termination for other reasons.
I don't like that word, setting up. Does this mean she should call a lawyer, call your law office, and give more information to the legal authority and try to understand the case?
Well, maybe setting up is a little strong, but to, as she pointed out, right there, looking for a reason, to basically justify if someone is now a liability in their eyes, and they want to basically find a reason to bypass the workers' comp laws or the retaliation laws, and to look for a reason to terminate someone. And proving retaliation is tough. I mean, that's tough because if they document it and say, okay, you're on probation, you got one more chance, and they document it.
And it does sound like they did their documentation. But I do encourage you, if you have a lot of documentation, Ruth, by all means, call a lawyer, get it together, and see what happens from there. We're taking your phone calls this morning, 502-267-2422. Melvin in Louisville, good morning. Thanks for calling the Louisville Live Legal Line with Karl Truman.
I've got a question. I was on a motorcycle, and the guy was in a car, and we didn't have contact, but he caused me to wreck. And I filed a lawsuit. Well, I got an attorney, and they did. And the judge dismissed it with prejudice. The guy had lied to my insurance company about being in the area, working in the area, and so on. And I was wondering, can I take him into criminal court and charge him with lying under oath and to my insurance company and sue him for damages that way?
Well, anytime that someone has a criminal issue, it's up to the state to pursue that, whether it's the Commonwealth attorney or the prosecuting attorney. So an individual you can make a complaint, but you can't personally file criminal charges. Only the prosecutor can do that. And proving perjury is tough because you have to really prove that they swore a statement under oath that they knew was false. But unfortunately, you can't go file criminal charges. Only the prosecutor. You can file a complaint and ask that charges be brought, but you can't personally do that.
And we are taking your phone calls, 502-267-2422, and we do have some emails. But we have Eddie in Shively. Good morning, Eddie. How are you?
Good morning. Just wet, very wet.
Did the water get in your house, or did you make it through this little hit of rain here?
No, I think we made it through safely this time, luckily.
Well, that's good. What is your question for Karl this morning? We appreciate you calling.
Thank you. Well, there's a auto repair business that opened up next door to my house, literally 10 foot from my property, body repair. They've been operating, painting cars without the proper equipment. They didn't have a paint booth. They got caught. The Jefferson County Board of Health came out and caught them. This has been going on for several years. There's a senior citizen lives in my house that's had respiratory problem since they moved in. It's been to the doctor several times, and now all of a sudden it's got better. And I'm wondering if we have some type of a suit.
Yeah, that's a question I've seen with situations, whether it's fumes like that or even mold in conditions. But yeah, technically you would, but if they're better now that the condition has been removed, then what are the damages? If it just was a temporary aggravation. For example, I've seen situations where someone's in an apartment with mold and they're very allergic to mold, but once they move out, they're okay. There could be some damages as far as if having to go to the doctor or something, but really, what are the damages, and would it be enough damages to pursue a claim? Because if now that the condition has been removed, they're okay, then there's probably not a whole lot to be done at this point. Not to say they didn't do anything wrong, but what are the damages, and would it be enough to justify getting into a claim?
Well, we appreciate your call. I want to take one quick email from Dan in Elizabethtown, because you're thinking about all the water out there and you're walking in businesses, you're walking in public places. I heard Mr. Truman last week talk about falls in public places, whether there's a sign up or not, and someone slips. Why does it seem like a business can be served a lawsuit? Doesn't common sense come into play? Dan, appreciate your E-Town, and we do appreciate your calls today. What about common sense when walking around? You sort of mentioned
Absolutely.
that.
We all use common sense, and juries use common sense in the courtroom. So, you can make a claim against anybody, but, will you prevail? And that's why I'm talking about, the lawyer's role of evaluating it. So, I'm not sure what the question is, but yes, we all use common sense, and what is the legal standard and what is the legal duty? But absolutely, whether it's tripping on a rug that's up, but because the business has to use common sense too. They can't just, leave a defective premises for people to trip on and say, well, use your own common sense. Well, common sense works both ways.
Well, and use common sense, as Karl said at the top of the segment here. When you're outside today driving and walking, just be careful. Karl, good having you with us again. And every Tuesday, he is here with the Legal Line. He'll answer all your questions as many as we can get to. Thanks for the email, and thanks for the phone calls. Thank you, Karl.
Thank you.